It's been 5 years since my daughter died, and while a part of me mourns her every day, another part of me feels relief. Now, saying that out loud or even thinking it makes me feel like the worst kind of person. I know how it sounds, and trust me, I'd never say this to anyone in my life. I wouldn't dare. But here, where no one knows me, it's easy enough to admit it. The truth is, she wasn't technically my daughter. She was my niece, my sister's child. But my sister OD'd when her baby girl was just a year old. I was 19 at the time, barely an adult myself, and trying to get through my first year of college. I had big dreams. I wanted to become a doctor, break free from the chaos of the family that I came from. An alcoholic father, a disappearing mother, and now a sister lost to drugs. When my sister died, there was no one else. My parents were long gone, either unwilling or incapable of stepping up. I didn't want to take her in. I wasn't ready to be a parent, and I didn't even know how. But how could I say no? She was just a baby, and she had no one else, and I wasn't going to let her end up being in the system. So, I dropped out of college and became her guardian. Life as a 19-year-old suddenly raising a child was harder than I ever imagined. I loved her, but there were days when I resented her existence, resented what she represented. Every diaper I changed, every sleepless night, every dollar I scraped together to pay for formula or daycare, it all felt like another nail in the coffin of my own dreams. I worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs just to make ends meet. There were no friends, no dates, no social life, just work, bills, and parenting. I poured everything into her. She became my entire world, but not because I chose that world, more that it was thrust upon me. The years passed, and she grew into a bright, beautiful child. She called me Mom, and though it warmed my heart, it also stung. I loved her deeply, but I couldn't help feeling like my life was slipping away from me. Every sacrifice I made, every dream I buried, every moment of happiness I let pass me by, it was all for her. She was only 6 years old when her school bus was in a terrible accident. A drunk driver ran a red light and collided with the bus. 3 children died that day, and she was one of them. I remember getting the call like it was yesterday. The police officer on the other end of the phone, the words he said, the way my knees buckled as I fell to the floor. In the weeks that followed, I spiraled. Grief consumed me, dragging me into a darkness I didn't know I could survive. I'd cry until my body ached, scream into pillows, and stare blankly at the walls of the apartment that we had once shared. Without her, my life felt utterly meaningless. She had become my purpose, my reason for everything, and now, just like that, she was gone. I lost everything in the months that followed. My job, my apartment, my will to go on. I was homeless for a while, bouncing from shelter to shelter, carrying the weight of her absence everywhere I went. I thought about ending it all more times than I'd like to admit, but somehow, somewhere along the way, a tiny voice inside me whispered that I could start over. So I did. I left the city where we had lived. It was too full of memories. Her laughter, her toys, her drawings still taped to the fridge. I moved to a new place where no one knew me, no one knew my story, and no one looked at me with pity. I reapplied to college, determined to chase the dreams I had put on hold. It wasn't easy. Every step forward felt like betrayal, like I was dishonoring her memory by moving on. But I kept going. I graduated, applied to medical school, and was accepted. Today, I'm in my first year, finally pursuing the life that I always wanted. Earlier this year, I got married. My husband is wonderful, kind, supportive, and everything I never thought I'd find. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm living the way I was meant to. I'm achieving the goals I set for myself long ago, creating a future that I can be proud of. And yet, there's this dark, shameful part of me that feels relief. I loved her. I did. I would have taken care of her forever if that's what life required of me. I would have kept sacrificing, kept pushing forward, kept giving her everything I had. But her death freed me from a life that I didn't choose, a life that I never wanted. Does that make me a horrible person? Maybe, probably. I think about it all the time. But there's no denying that her absence gave me a chance to reclaim my life. Even now, I feel the weight of her loss every single day. I keep a photo of her on my desk. Her bright eyes, that little crooked smile. I wonder who she would have become, what her laugh would sound like as a teenager, what dreams she might have chased. But I also feel gratitude for the life I have now. I've accomplished so much in the past 5 years, things I could never have done if she were still here. And that's the part that tears me up inside, the part of me that's glad she's gone. I know how this sounds. I know people will judge me, call me selfish, call me cruel, and maybe I am. But I've lived through both realities, a life of sacrifice and a life of opportunity. I'm grateful for both, but I can't deny which one has allowed me to thrive. She'll always have a place in my heart. I'll always mourn her. But I can't apologize for finally living the life that I've dreamed of. And no matter how much guilt I carry, I know one thing for sure. I'll never forget her. Before we dive into the next story, if you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell icon to stay updated with our upcoming confession stories. Your support means the world to us, so please share these stories with your friends and family. Thanks. There's no real way to share my story without jumping straight into my trauma, so trigger warning, things are about to get real. I was raped by a family member consistently until I was 13. That is until I moved in with my aunt. She's the most incredible person I've ever known, a true angel who took me in when no one else would or could. She helped me escape from the dangerous people in my family and gave me a chance to live a better life. Once we found out that I was pregnant as a result of the assault, she guessed how it happened without me even saying a word. I hadn't told her about the abuse, but she said she had always suspected something was wrong. She had no proof, but she could sense it, and that's when she devised a plan to get me out of my parents' house for good. She pretended to be pregnant herself. She approached my parents and told them she needed help and wanted custody of me so that I could move in with her, get homeschooled, and assist her once the baby arrived. At first, my folks refused. My parents were more concerned about losing the food stamps they got for me than about my safety or well-being. So, my aunt offered them money. She promised to pay them the equivalent of the food stamps they'd lose plus a little extra cash if they let me live with her. Once my parents realized they could profit, then they agreed. She continued to give them extra money every month just to ensure that they stayed out of our lives. My parents were neglectful junkies, and I don't think they cared about anything except their next high. They essentially sold me for drug money, plain and simple. After I moved in with my aunt, I saw my parents only a handful of times between then and now. To protect me legally, my aunt went to court and filed for custody. She told the court my parents had dropped me off at her house one day and simply never came back. I supported her story, saying we'd gone back to my parents' house repeatedly, but they were never home. My parents were eventually ordered to appear in court, but as predicted, they never showed up. The court then granted my aunt full custody, and I lived with her until I was old enough to support myself. When we found out abortion wasn't an option because it was too late under our state's laws, my aunt went to extraordinary lengths to protect me. She pretended the baby was hers. She gained weight on purpose, wore maternity clothes, and stayed out of sight as much as possible to avoid questions. I stayed home every single day until the baby was born. People assumed I was just a shy kid who liked to stay indoors, and that wasn't far from the truth. I'd always been quiet, a big reader, and rarely socialized. My aunt worked a job that allowed her to stay home most of the time, which was rare, but a lifesaver. Back then, you could call a grocery store to place an order and they'd deliver it. It's similar to online grocery delivery today, and it meant we could avoid running into anyone we knew. When my water broke in the middle of the night, we were lucky no neighbors were awake to see us leave. We went to a hospital in another town just to avoid recognition. Once we left the hospital, everyone thought the baby was hers. She raised him as her own, and he grew up calling her Mama. I don't feel bad about this, and have no plans to tell him the truth unless my aunt wants to, or a major emergency arises, like if he ever needs a biological match for an organ. She's always told me it's my choice to reveal the truth, but I feel like it's her choice too. She raised him, loved him, and gave him a good life. I wouldn't want to take that away from them. He's an adult now, married and planning to have kids with his wife. Sometimes it feels strange, knowing that if they do, they'll technically be my grandchildren. But I don't feel like a parent to him. I know I'm his biological mother, but I've never been his mama. That role belongs to my aunt, and she's done it better than I ever could have. He has a good life, and that's what matters most to me. My aunt and I worked hard to make sure he could get a good education, and he did. He's kind, hardworking, and a compassionate person. He knows me as his older cousin, and we get along well. I'm proud of him every single day. For those wondering about the man who assaulted me, he's in prison for life. He wasn't arrested for what he did to me, but for something else. He won't be eligible for release until he's in his 90s, and I doubt he'll live that long. My aunt tried for years to help me before she got custody. Every time she saw me, she asked if I was okay. She tried to get me to open up, but I was far too scared. My parents were good at pretending to be decent people when they needed to, and I denied anything was wrong out of fear. Don't judge her or think she could have done more. She did everything in her power, and when the moment came, she saved me. I know DNA tests exist, and I've thought about what would happen if he ever took one. It's complicated, and my aunt and I don't have all the answers, but if it does ever happen, we'll figure it out together. As for my parents, I haven't spoken to them since the early 2000s, and I have no interest in reconnecting. My aunt is the only mother I've ever known, and I don't need anything from the people who sold me for drug money. To those who have sent me disgusting messages, I hope you rot. What happened to me was horrific, and anyone who finds it sexy or thinks I deserved it is beyond saving. To those who criticize my writing or my decisions, I don't really care. I was a child facing unimaginable trauma and did the best I could with the circumstances I was given. I may not have gone to college, but I graduated high school, which I never thought I'd do. I work hard to pay my bills and even have a little savings, and that's more than I ever expected of myself. Finally, to those who acknowledge my aunt's sacrifice, thank you. She's the best person I've ever known, not just because of what she did for me, but because of who she is. She truly is an angel. This is my story. It's messy, painful, and complicated, but it's mine. I'm going to ruin my husband's Father's Day. 5 years together, 2 years married. I thought we had built something solid, something real, but recently my world came crashing down when I discovered my husband had been talking to his ex behind my back, and worse, he's been planning to meet up with her. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. A few months ago, I noticed him being more secretive with his phone. He'd angle the screen away when I walked into the room or suddenly close apps when I got too close. I didn't think much of it at first. We all value a little privacy, right? But then, there were the late nights where he'd claim he was working on something, yet his laptop remained closed, and his phone stayed glued to his hand. One evening, I accidentally stumbled across the truth. He left his phone on the counter while he ran to grab something from the car, and that's when a message popped up from a name that I hadn't seen in years, his ex. My stomach dropped and curiosity, admittedly, got the better of me. I swiped the notification, and what I saw made my blood boil. The messages weren't just friendly, they were overly flirtatious, nostalgic, and way too familiar for comfort. "Remember when we used to sneak out and drive to the lake?" one read. Another one said, "I miss those days. We should catch up soon." And catch up they did. In one conversation, they discussed meeting for lunch at a place that he told me that he absolutely hated. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My husband, the man I had vowed to spend my life with, was sneaking around with a woman he once claimed was nothing to worry about. I confronted him lightly at first, asking if he had spoken to his ex recently. He lied, of course. "No," he said, brushing it off as though I had just asked him if he remembered to take out the trash. That's when I knew I couldn't trust him to come clean, and if he wasn't going to tell me the truth, I'd find it myself. So that night, when he fell asleep, I full-fledged went through his phone. I don't feel guilty about it either. I wanted answers, and I got them. Every text message was a dagger to the heart. There were plans to meet for coffee, excuses about catching up as old friends, and even subtle complaints about me. He made it seem like I was demanding, like I didn't understand him. What hurt the most were the messages where he reminisced about their past. It felt like he was trying to relive a chapter of his life that he should have closed years ago. And through it all, not once did he mention me, his wife, the woman who had sacrificed so much to build the life we share, in a positive light. I started taking screenshots of everything. The texts, the plans, the inside jokes that I was never a part of. I saved them in a folder on my phone titled Evidence. Part of me felt sick for doing it, but another part of me, one that I didn't recognize, felt a cold satisfaction with it. I was preparing for the end. Now, Father's Day is coming up, and I've decided it will be the last one that we spend together. The plan is already set in motion. I'll make the day unforgettable, the kind of day he'll think about for years. I'll wake up early to make his favorite breakfast. I'll buy him the thoughtful gift that he's been hinting at for months. I'll smile, laugh, and pretend that everything in our life is perfect. And then, the next day, while he's at work, I'm leaving. I've already started packing my things little by little so he won't notice. Our family photos will be replaced with printouts of his conversations with her. Every lie, every flirtatious comment, every plan that they made to meet. A copy of the divorce papers will be waiting for him on the coffee table. By the time he comes home, I'll be long, long gone. I've imagined the moment in my head over and over again. I think of him walking into the house expecting things to be normal, only to find the evidence of his betrayal staring him in the face. Will he feel guilty? Will he regret what he's done? Or will he shrug it off like he shrugged off every lie he's told me this far? The truth is, I don't really care. I'm done. I spent 5 years bending over backward to support him, to build the life he said that he wanted. I've worked late nights to contribute to our home, sacrificed vacations to save money for his goals, and stood by him when he doubted himself. And this is how he chooses to repay me, by sneaking around with a woman who should have stayed in his past. Am I being petty? Probably. Will some people think I'm an asshole for leaving him this way? Absolutely. But you know what? That's not my cross to bear. I gave him my trust, and he shattered it. I gave him my love, and he threw it away. If he wanted to be with her so badly, he should have just left me instead of disrespecting me like this. Part of me wonders what their conversations will look like after I leave. Will he run to her, try to explain why his wife left him? Will she welcome him back with open arms, or will she see him for what he actually is? A man who lies and cheats without a second thought. I know this plan isn't perfect. Maybe it's dramatic, even cruel. But I'm done playing the quiet, understanding wife who waits for her husband to grow up. This is my way of taking back control. When he looks at those photos, I hope he feels the weight of his actions. I hope he understands the hurt he caused and the life that he threw away. But most of all, I hope he realizes that I deserve better, because I do. So Father's Day will be a day to remember, although not for the reasons he expects, but for the reality check that's waiting for him.